You meet someone for the first time and your brain quietly goes, nope. No evidence. No drama. Just a calm little inner voice like a bored movie critic saying, we've seen this one. 2 stars. Do not recommend. Or the opposite happens. You meet someone and instantly feel, oh, you're not okay? You're smiling, but something is really wrong. And then 3 weeks later, they finally admit what you already felt on day 1. And when people ask, but how did you know? You don't have a clean answer. You just shrug and say, I don't know, I just knew. You're not reading tarot cards. You're not breaking into their medical records. You just walk around with this uncomfortable superpower of knowing things about people without being able to prove any of it. And that's fun. Until you realize you can see red flags long before anyone else does. You can feel tension no one acknowledges, and you can sense who's not going to last in your life before they even finish their introduction. This is the psychology of people who just know things about others without proof. And if you recognize yourself in this, congratulations. Your brain is both impressive and kind of exhausted. Let's break down why you're like this. Let's dive right in. All right, first up, you were trained by chaos, not calm. You did not grow this so-called intuition in a peaceful childhood where everyone talked about their feelings over herbal tea. You learned to read people in a house where you were basically the emotional security system. While other kids were learning their times tables, you were learning to calculate in about half a second who was in a good mood, who was about to explode, and whether you should make yourself helpful, invisible, or just fake sleep. Maybe you grew up around anger, unpredictability, emotional neglect, or that special kind of manipulation where someone tells you you're overreacting while your nervous system is clearly like, no, actually, this is bad. You learn to scan faces the way other people scan social media. One microexpression, one change in tone, one slightly louder door slam, and your body already knew what kind of night it was going to be. You were not being dramatic. You were staying safe. So you developed this habit. Every room you walk into, you instantly start doing a vibe check. Your brain is like a weather app that never turns off. Is today calm? Is someone secretly furious? Is this conversation safe? Or is this how the argument starts that ruins your whole week? Before anyone says hi, you already have a rough forecast, sunny with a chance of emotional hurricane. Psychologically, this is called hypervigilance. Your nervous system got trained to assume that danger was possible at any moment. So it started collecting data very, very fast. Eye contact, posture, speed of movement, what words people choose, how long they hesitate before answering. You don't sit there thinking, let me analyze their microexpressions. Your brain does it automatically, like background apps running on low power mode, and then it sends you a simple notification, safe, unsafe, or probably going to be a problem. Now, as an adult, that same hyper-awareness feels like intuition. You say, oh, I just get a feeling about people. But what you really mean is, my nervous system has a PhD in spotting patterns. You walk into a party and while everyone else is just trying to find the snacks, you've already clocked who is insecure, who is angry at their partner who is trying way too hard, and who is secretly about to cry in the bathroom. You end up knowing things about people without any evidence you can show on a spreadsheet. If someone asked you to prove it, you'd probably struggle because you can't point to one big thing. It's the tiny details, the half-second pause, the forced laugh, the way their shoulders drop when a certain name is mentioned. Your brain quietly adds it all up and hands you a result like a calculator that only outputs vibes. So, when you just know, it is not magic. It is training. You were trained by chaos, not calm. You were shaped by environments where being oblivious was dangerous, where missing a tiny shift in someone's mood could mean emotional fallout later. And now, even if life is calmer, your nervous system hasn't fully gotten the memo. It is still scanning, still predicting, still trying to keep you safe, even in rooms where nothing bad is actually happening. All right. Next. You know the story behind the mask before they speak it. You look at someone and you can feel their insecurity, their loneliness, their need for control before they even finish their first sentence. It's like your brain runs this silent little background program that goes, yeah, you're smiling, but that's not happiness. I'm holding it together with caffeine and denial. Before they ever admit they're anxious, you already know. Before they reveal the breakup, you can already sense the grief sitting behind their eyes like a tab they forgot to close. You don't buy the "I'm fine" mask because your brain is scanning everything beneath it. The delay before they answer, the way their shoulders tighten just a little, the way their eyes flick away, the fake lightness in their voice that sounds more like they're auditioning for the role of well-adjusted person than actually being one. Other people hear, "I'm okay, just busy." You hear, "I'm not okay, but I don't feel safe enough to say that out loud yet." You're not just hearing their words, you're listening to the part they're trying to hide. The micro expressions, the tone changes, the way their energy drops half a level when a certain topic comes up. You notice how they get louder when they're insecure, or quieter when they're angry, or suddenly hilarious when the conversation gets too close to something real. On the surface, it looks like you're just sitting there, nodding. Internally, your brain is like, oh, we've got unresolved childhood stuff, control issues, and emotional avoidance. Neat. Psychologically, this is a mix of pattern recognition and emotional attunement. You've seen enough people say, "I'm fine," right before they fall apart, that your brain now treats "I'm fine" as a red flag, not a reassurance. You've watched enough fake confidence to know what real confidence feels like. So now your system flags every mismatch. Happy words, sad eyes, chill tone, clenched jaw, "I don't care." But their whole body is screaming that they do. And here's the wild part. People can Kiko and feel that you see this. They don't know how, but they sense that around you, the mask doesn't fully work. That's why strangers end up telling you about their breakup, their anxiety, their family drama, when all you asked was, "How have you been?" Being around you can feel disarming, like you've already read the spoiler for their life, and they might as well just talk about it. On the good days, this feels like a superpower. You make people feel seen. You notice what no one else is paying attention to. On the bad days, it feels like you're watching everyone walk around in emotional costumes. And you're the only one who can see the seams coming apart. You don't just know the story they're telling the world. You know the story they're trying very hard not to say out loud yet. All right, next. You're often right because you assume the worst first. Here's the controversial part nobody wants to admit out loud. A lot of your so-called accuracy comes from assuming pain, insecurity, or selfishness as the default setting in people. If someone is overly charming, you don't think, "Wow, what a delightful human being." Your brain goes, "Ah, yes, charisma with a side of manipulation, seen this episode." If someone is too nice, you don't relax. You squint. You start wondering, okay, but what do you want? And if someone is distant, you don't assume they're shy, you assume they're hiding something. Your mind is not exactly innocent until proven guilty. It's more like guilty until proven extremely, aggressively safe. And here's the frustrating thing. Because the world really does contain selfish, messy, wounded people, you're usually not wrong. You've met enough users, liars, narcissists, and emotionally unavailable statues pretending to be humans that your baseline expectation is there's probably a catch. So when that quiet, "I just know" feeling shows up, it often is your nervous system saying, "We've seen this pattern before, and it did not end well." Get the emotional fire extinguisher ready. You're not just guessing badly, you're remembering efficiently. Psychologically, this is your brain running on a survival algorithm. Better to have a few false alarms and then miss one real threat. It's like having an overly sensitive smoke detector that goes off when you make toast. But hey, at least it will also go off if there's an actual fire. You'd rather assume worst-case scenario and be pleasantly surprised than assume the best and get blindsided. Again, so you prejudge, you pre-defend, you pre-withdraw. You don't even consciously think, I'm assuming the worst. It just shows up as a vibe. Something is off. Don't get comfortable. On the outside, this can look like deep intuition. You warn your friends about someone, they don't listen, and 6 months later they're crying like, how did you see this coming? Meanwhile, you're just sitting there like, because this person came with the exact same software update as my last 3 disasters. But on the inside, it's not as glamorous. You're not floating through life with mystical insight. You're scanning for red flags like it's your full-time job. And your brain has a strict, no benefit of the doubt without a probation period policy. The downside is that this default suspicion doesn't just protect you from bad people. It can also block out good ones. Your nervous system doesn't differentiate between this reminds me of genuine danger and this reminds me of that one time I got hurt and now I'm paranoid. It just hits the same button. Avoid, retreat, don't trust. So yes, your I just know feeling is often right, but not because the universe whispers secrets in your ear. It's because your nervous system keeps a detailed archive of every time trusting the wrong person went badly, and it would rather assume the worst first than ever let you go through that again. All right, next, you test people without them knowing. You just know things about people, partly because you secretly test them. And to be clear, you're not doing a full FBI interrogation, it's more like emotional A/B testing. You drop small pieces of information, change your energy slightly, say something mildly vulnerable, or set a soft boundary, and then you sit back and quietly observe like, all right, science experiment, begin. You watch what they do with a tiny bit of truth you gave them. Do they respect it, ignore it, exaggerate it, or immediately make it about themselves? You might casually share a small insecurity, nothing too dangerous, just enough to be real. Then you watch. Do they hold it gently or do they joke about it later in front of other people? You say no to a plan and see if they handle the word no like an adult or like a toddler who just had their iPad taken away. You mention a boundary, something simple like, hey, I don't like being teased about that. And your brain is taking notes. Do they adjust or do they double down? On the outside, you look chill. On the inside, you're basically a lab technician with a clipboard going, interesting, subject did not respond well to basic emotional responsibility. Noted. Sometimes you'll even test consistency. You tell them something a little personal and then don't bring it up again. If it resurfaces through someone else's mouth, you know exactly where it came from. Or you mention a plan you care about and see if they remember it later without being reminded. You're tracking tiny things. Do they follow up? Do they check in? Do they show up when it's not convenient, or are they only around when there's something to gain? Your I have a bad feeling about them is not random. By the time you say that sentence, you've quietly run 10 little experiments they never noticed. Psychologically, what you're doing is gathering data instead of blindly trusting promises. You've heard, you can trust me before, and then watch those same people vanish when you actually needed them. So now you trust patterns, not speeches. You create situations where someone's true priorities, empathy level, and emotional maturity have a chance to reveal themselves. You're not being manipulative. You're doing what your nervous system believes is necessary research before it lets anyone get close enough to hurt you again. Of course, from the outside, none of this is visible. People think you just have a vibe about others. They don't realize you've been subtly testing how they handle your truth, your needs, your boundaries, your vulnerability. They think you woke up one day and decided, yeah, I don't like that person. Meanwhile, your brain is like, after multiple trials, this subject has failed basic empathy requirements. Conclusion: do not recommend for long-term emotional investment. The upside is, this habit protects you from a lot of disasters. The downside is, it can also turn every new connection into an exam. Instead of simply enjoying someone, you're watching them like a therapist who's also the quality control manager. But given what you've been through, it makes sense. You test people without them knowing because you learned the hard way that some lessons are too painful to repeat, and you'd rather quietly run experiments early than pay for the results later. All right, next. You pick up what people feel, not what they admit. You walk into a room, and you don't just see people, you see emotional Wi-Fi signals everywhere. Tension in that corner, jealousy over there, quiet sadness by the snack table. You're not even trying. You're just standing there like, wow. The vibes in here are complicated. Before anyone has said a single honest sentence, you already know who's secretly mad, who's secretly hurt, and who is absolutely not okay, but trying very hard to look fine for the group photo. You can tell when two people slept together, even if they're both committed to the "we're just friends" bit. Their energy is off, the way they avoid eye contact a little too much, stand a little too far apart, or laugh a little too loudly at nothing. Your brain catches all of it. You can sense when someone is lying about being over their ex. They say, "Oh, it's whatever. I'm happy for them." But you can feel the emotional static behind that sentence. Their words say peace. Their energy says, if they texted right now, I'd answer in 0.3 seconds. You don't need proof because you're not reading facts. You're reading emotional states. Most people listen for content. You listen for charge. You can feel when a topic in the conversation is like stepping on a landmine, even if nobody reacts out loud. You sense unspoken conflict between friends. The kind where everyone is politely pretending nothing is wrong while you're sitting there thinking, cool, so we're all just going to ignore that thick cloud of resentment floating in the middle of the room? Psychologically, this is a form of emotional attunement and sensitivity. Your nervous system is calibrated to tiny emotional shifts, the way some people are tuned to tiny changes in sound or light. You notice the micro pause before someone answers, the half-second delay before a fake laugh, the way someone's shoulders tense then drop when a certain name comes up. Your brain files it all away and comes back with a simple headline: something is off here. What makes this so confusing is that most people are terrible at hiding how they feel energetically, even if their words are flawless. They can craft perfect sentences, but their body language, their tone, their timing, even how often they check their phone, gives them away. It's like they're speaking two languages at once, one with their mouth and one with their nervous system. Everyone else hears the mouth. You hear the nervous system. And honestly, it can be a little isolating. While everyone else is taking things at face value, you're sitting there noticing that the couple, totally fine, after a fight, absolutely are not. The friend who says, "I'm just tired," is actually quietly depressed. And the person making jokes non-stop is low-key using humor as a full-body shield. You pick up what people feel, not what they admit, and that makes you look intuitive from the outside, when really, you're just the one in the room who can't unhear the emotions nobody else is listening for. All right, next. Your gift is real, but it's also exhausting. The truth is, you really are more perceptive than most people. You do pick up on patterns, energies, and inconsistencies that everyone else sails right past. While other people are just vibing, you're involuntarily running a full diagnostic scan on the emotional state of the entire room. You're not imagining that. Your brain genuinely notices more. Congratulations, you're basically human surveillance with feelings. You see the way someone's tone shifts when a certain name comes up. You catch how their story doesn't quite line up with the version they told last week. You feel that tiny drop in energy when the topic changes to something they're secretly avoiding. Most people only notice when a relationship explodes. You notice when the first hairline crack appears and quietly think, yeah, that's going to be a problem later. But the cost of being this perceptive is that you rarely meet people as they actually are. You mostly meet your predictions of them. Your brain is always slightly ahead of the moment, going, if they're doing this now, they'll probably do that later. And suddenly you're not just talking to them in the present, you're also talking to the version of them you've already fast-forwarded 6 months into the future. You're having a conversation and simultaneously running a simulation. It's impressive, but also kind of exhausting. You end up living half in the future and half in the past. In the future, where you're predicting how this person will disappoint you, change, leave, or reveal some trait you already suspect. In the past, where you're constantly cross-referencing everything with old experiences, this feels like that one time when being fully present with someone is hard when your brain insists on acting like a time traveler with trust issues. You're there, but your mind is also everywhere else. And the scanner? You can't switch it off. There's no airplane mode for your awareness. Even when you want to just relax and be clueless for once, your nervous system is like, that's cute. Anyway, did you notice the weird tension between those two? You're at dinner, and instead of just enjoying your food, you're decoding dynamics at the table like it's a group project, and you're the only one who read the instructions. From the outside, it looks like intuition, insight, maybe even wisdom. People come to you for advice because you just see things. What they don't see is how heavy it is to always notice what others ignore. To always feel like you can't fully buy into someone's words because you're too aware of their subtext. To live in a world where you just know too much about people, but almost no one really knows what it's like inside your head. Your gift is real. You are perceptive, intuitive, emotionally sharp in a way not everyone is. But gifts can be draining when they never turn off. And that's the part most people miss. This isn't just some fun party trick. It's a constant stream of extra information your brain is processing all the time, and it leaves you tired in a way that's hard to explain. You're not dramatic. You're just carrying the weight of seeing more than you're actually able to do anything about.